times, and then did the in-house show for many years, and has done a demo quite a while ago, so we wanted her back, and she's been our critique helper for many years as well. So, but to my surprise, I thought she was painting her whole life. She started painting at 54, and also had the Bob Ross training. So she'll tell you more about herself.
In regard to the Bob Ross, yes, I took all their certifications, which people do not realize that if you're going to teach Bob Ross, you have to be certified by Bob Ross Company. And you take courses. I'm certified in florals, landscapes, seascapes, and wildlife. That means tigers and lions and those kind of things. But with each of those certifications, you go to their school, and it is 5 days a week, 8 hours a day with a brush in your hand, 3 weeks for each one of those certifications. So when I did it early in the 20s, 2005, 2006, somewhere in there, but you all know that I had brain surgery between, just in the last few years, and I found out yesterday when I was practicing some of these flowers that they connected some wires wrong, because I don't remember a lot of this stuff. So I had to sit down and watch videos and practice. So I brought a lot of things that are already painted, but I can sure explain them to you, but I don't remember all the little duties. So I guess I'll be practicing for quite a while. You have to remember when you're painting flowers, it's not just the flower you're painting. You have to remember there's a background. You have to remember that there are leaves, and not every leaf for every plant is the same. Go out in your yard and you'll see, I even went out on my deck and pulled a couple of off of my hydrangeas, because those leaves are very wide, fat, and pointed. But you have every kind of leaf. With pansies, it's different. Mums are longer leaves. They come out in this. Where is Rita? Remember we've talked about the shading in a pot. If you're going to put something in a vase, instead of it all being one color, you put the darks on the outside and you highlight in front. So highlight brings it forward. The darks make it look more rounded. So you know that the flowers are sitting in something. I have another one here that shows me sitting on a table. For the life of me, I can't tell you what that flower is. I have
Hollyhock?
Hollyhock.
Yeah, it looks like a hollyhock or.
Sweet pea.
Sweet pea. It also could be a hibiscus.
Yeah, it could be a
Rose of
hibiscus.
It could be all of the above.
Yeah, anything you want it to be. Pansies, they're fun to paint. They're very enjoyable. They're a happy flower. And remember, I'm always telling you, dark centers. So the flowers look like they're cupped and they've got petals instead of being flat, which I'll show you in here in a minute. It was one of my first ones. And they're flatter than a pancake.
Hold it up. Thank you.
But pansies are easy to paint. They really are. It's very simple. Petals, petal in the back.
And one smile.
Smile. A petal in the back, and then you have your petals on the side, and then you have your main petal at the bottom. But first, when you're starting it, you put your dark in the center, and then you build. And remember, when you paint flowers, it's always from the outside in. You don't paint from the inside of the flower out. You get a better flow for the petal because that's the way it grows. If you went from the inside out, it would just leave it flat on the end. When you go home and look at your flowers, they're always growing from the center. So you bring your petals to the center. Let's see. Sis helped me put these up here, so I'm not too sure which ones I have in order here. This is another fun. This is a poppy. And it's sitting, some of these have been around so many years.
Okay, higher.
Higher, okay. But I have a table that the pot is sitting on. And if you have questions, just yell it out. This is not a speech, this is an interaction. But does somebody see one mistake I did in here? Oh, he said, what is it?
Oh, maybe, I'm wondering if there might be just a little shadow under that leaf, those leaves, or at least maybe I can't see them.
There probably is, but come up and look at it if you want.
Okay, let me just. Yeah, I think they're, oh yeah, you might have a little something,
Yeah,
yeah.
but again, here's another pot where you'd have to make it look round. But does anybody see the mistake in this flower?
Let me see. The one in the flower, the one on the right, the bigger one,
Uh-huh,
it's not in the center. The pinnacle is not in the center. It's, you got a black spot.
that's the center,
Yeah, but then what's the black
but
spot?
this is
Yeah.
the mistake.
Okay.
And as I was pulling this out of my storage area yesterday, I'm going, how did I miss that? there
Let's
should
see,
be
Pam,
another-
your hand is covering.
Yeah, there should be another petal
Oh.
going this way, coming up here. Like these are going so you can see the ones over the other one, but I've got a dark spot here that I totally missed.
It's actually very striking, that painting. I mean, it really, it catches your attention, Pam.
Well, one thing about when you're starting a painting, it doesn't matter if it's flowers or anything else. You start with your canvas, with your gesso. I did last night, this morning, I just wiped gessoed a couple of them. But you can use black gesso, or now they even have black canvases. But I gessoed this in black, and then started with my flowers. But first, I put my leaves in. Now you'll talk to people who will tell you to put your leaves in after, or put your leaves in before. I think that's something you playing with your flowers will do what's easiest for you. But in this particular one, I drew the line, outside line, so I knew where my flower was gonna be. And then I added my green before I painted the flower.
You work from pictures or do you work from actual flowers that you?
Both. Go out in your yard and pick a big stem of flowers and bring it in. Or better yet, go to the dollar store and get some fake ones and put them in a vase in your art room and they won't die on you. They're still there a week later than when you started. Yeah.
I want to know, when you're doing flowers on paper, instead of a canvas, do you whitewash that? all
You know,
before?
I've
Or is
never
your
tried it.
preference- Is your, what?
I've never tried it. So is there anybody here that you can give her some advice
On water?
on watercolor paper,
Yes.
doing watercolors?
Yes.
I'm not a watercolor artist. The person you should be talking to, where's Barb? Oh, right in front of me. She would be able to give you more answers on that. But again, would you start with watercolor? Would you start with your back petals? And work
You
forward?
have to start with the light first, where when you're doing with the kind of paint you're using, you start dark and go light. In watercolor, you have to start with the light and go to dark, because if you put the light on top of the dark, you're not going to see it.
Maybe I need to play.
It's transparent.
I know nothing about painting with watercolor.
And then you can do glazing, and if you do it
That's
light
true.
to dark, you can do another, let a petal dry, and then put another petal, and you can see through you can see the one behind it.
That's right.
It's really fun.
Now, here's another painting, flowers, if you wanna start with flowers, this one is fun. It is the simplest painting to do in florals. And that's a glad. Now, this painting, why it's so much fun is because you just go crazy with color. You start this canvas with your colors, anything you want. Here I put some yellow, pink. I don't think there's any blue in this one, but any color you want on the background, because it seeps through your flower, because your flower is, if you just, oh, she keeps reminding me to raise it up, okay.
People in the back can't see it.
Okay, but one thing about the grads, they're so simple in the fact that you only have to paint them in white. Do you see all the colors that are in those flowers? Because that's the colors coming from underneath.
Is that acrylic?
This is all oil.
Okay.
That's why I like oil, it moves. You can do things with it. This particular flower, then I put my leaves in, which we'll play with here in a minute. I put my leaves all the way up and out to the side, and I put my buds over here. And I think I've got a bud somewhere else. But then you just take your white on a little round black brush and you draw your, go from your flower, you just draw a line here and a line here, and all your lines, you just draw the outside of this flower with white. Then on the inside, you take and you put your little brown or whatever color you want to use in the center. You cup it. It's just like a cup. You paint it in a little miniature cup shape. Then when you get all these drawn in on your white, and you take some medium and your brush, and you start from the outside in, and you do each petal. For example, this one is the back petal. I would paint it first, then I paint this one, and I come in with this one, and all you do is you take your brush from the outside, you put your paint on, and when you put paint on a floral brush, you want to put it on so it has a fine edge. When you get both sides wet, you'll hold it up like this, and it will have a fine point. You take it and you just bring your flower in, then from down here, you just bring that white in, bring the white up, and it picks up all the colors that are under it. I have painted orange ones, I have painted green ones. I have had people request colors, so you can paint it whatever your, yeah,
Is that wet on wet?
yes. You don't have to stop with this and wait forever for oil to dry. You can paint the next stage right on top of it, so it picks up the colors that are underneath. But this one, if you ever want to start with something, this is easy. Have a good time painting colors and then just pick it up in the white. And you don't have to fool around with any other color. Yeah,
How long does oil, because I watched a YouTube video a long time ago about oil paintings. And I found out that you have to like varnish oil paintings, like varnish them.
it
to
helps,
protect them.
it helps. You could probably get it.
But I also found out that you're gonna have to wait at least 8 to 12 months for your oil paintings to
Well,
dry.
your oil has to cure.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
And that's what you have to wait. You cannot put acrylic over oil.
yeah, I know.
Remember that. Don't try it. You'll ruin your painting. Because acrylic dries fast, but what's underneath it in the oil dries slow, and you'll have a mildew,
Yeah.
crazy, messed up painting.
And I create, so what I do, I actually created with watercolor the first time in my career, but I love acrylics, because, I mean, when I put it on there, what I do is I put it on there, and let it dry for a little bit, and it dries really fast.
Well, that's it. It's,
And I like it, and I know that oil paints take a long time to dry.
now this painting is very well done if it's on a black, better than if it's on a white canvas or any other color. It stands out. And again, I started in the center, made a kind of a light purple circle, just squish it on there, and then you start with white and mix it with a little bit of the purple, and you have a soft lavender to bring your petals in. You start with the back petal, like in a landscape, you start with the mountain in the back before you put the trees in front. You do the same thing in flowers when you're doing it in oil.
What kind of fun?
This one, that's one of my memory losses.
I think it's
It's-
a dahlia.
Looks like it.
Does it look like a dahlia to you?
Well,
It
the
could
color
be.
doesn't look like a dahlia.
But I think it was supposed to be called midnight something, a flower that blooms more at night, but I don't remember. I told you they were busy in my head. What?
This may seem odd,
Yeah,
but the way the flowers are leaning towards you, I would like to see it turned over upside down.
Oh.
There.
There.
Yeah.
Or even sideways.
thanks, Jerry. Yeah, you can go about any way you want.
Flowers have no, they bloom every which way.
They bloom very which
They
way,
do
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's striking, when you use the black canvas, if you bought a black canvas, I always gesso it black anyway,
Yes,
because I don't
It gets it
like the way
smoother.
that, you know, it's not really well gessoed, I don't think.
a lot of landscapes and things, you don't have to be really, really specific, here goes my brain again, on how you put your gesso on it. But when you're doing flowers, it's nice if you put your gesso on smoothly. So your flower will flow better, no matter what you're painting it in. Now this is another idea. Baskets, go with florals, are really simple to do. I see a frown there.
Why, I just see one over there, it's so bad.
A basket is really easy. Essentially, all you do is you draw your outside of your basket and you put down dark sections down the middle. And then all you do is you go from one side, and remember, always out to in. And you go out, in, and then you alternate it, the next one. And then you can do it with the same with the handle.
Is that two different colors for the handle?
I've got black in there and two brown, and then I went back and highlighted it in something like Indian yellow, or mixing a yellow with a darker color and make kind of an orange to highlight in there. And again, something like this, when you're painting an arrangement, there are all kinds of leaves that you need to put in. And these, I'll show you in a few minutes how to paint these different kinds of leaves. With this lilac, they are done, if you look at your lilacs outside, or you look at your rhododendron, or not rhododendrons, your hydrangeas, you look at them and you'll find, we're always looking at the big bloom. But if you look closely, they have little tiny flowers that make up the whole. So when you're painting that, you get a filbert brush. Everybody know what a filbert is?
Yes.
The nut.
A filbert is the little oval guy. And you just pop it in, put it down, make another one, make your hole. There's usually 4 petals. And if you're gonna paint daisies work better with a dark background. than you do if you can't see them on a white background. So they're better done this way. And now daisies, when we were kids, or when I was a kid, I'm older than most of you. When we were children, daisies were always white with yellow centers. Well, now I don't know how they get the pink ones, the green ones, the blue ones. Some kind of dye that they put in, in for the plant. But all you have to do is push. And with the daisies, you start with your center, and then you just use the same technique of push, pull, and you make your little petals. Daisies are wonderful as an accent with any floral. You see it, Shirley? Shirley knows most of this stuff. She could be standing here. Another flower that I really enjoy, my first floral that I ever did was an iris.
Oh, yeah.
I took Bob Ross class at Michael's. And that's what because it's my husband's favorite flower. So I painted an iris for him and I got hooked. And that's all it took. But do you see the little petals? And you want to divide this whole thing is a petal. This whole thing over here is a petal. We have a tendency to put too many petals in when we do flowers. We got a little petal here and a little petal there. Then it gets all, it gets all blobbed together and you can't tell which flower was. So in this situation, you start with your back and you bring your purple down to the center of the flower. That is your focal point. You're always headed for the middle of the flower, no matter what flower you're painting. What do they call it? The something spot?
Center of interest.
Sweet spot?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 words.
Center of interest.
Yeah,
Something or other.
yeah, you're like me, it's up there somewhere.
It's a focal point.
Focal point, that's the one I was looking for. Your focal point is the center. Then you have your dark here, you put your purple, see this little line that got tore. You do your purple, deep purples, you do your light purples, and it's going from outside in, outside in. Each one of these is a ruffle. And then you have your funny arms. And again, I painted these long pieces before I painted my flower. And what have I got hid back here? My sister there helped me set it up, so I don't know what I'm hiding. Stay here. Hydrangea.
There's kind of a Japanese fire to it.
I like the simplicity of the,
Yeah. I do too.
Background really helps that.
Now, if you notice on that hydrangea, there are background of petals. You look real close. Those are done in a very light shade of what your main part of your flower is going to be. You just put them in the back. Their shadows clear out here. And again, we're doing the same little flower that you did when I showed you on the lilac. Somebody's helping my words back there. But yeah, it's the same thing basically. You go and look at the 2 flowers in your yard and they're all made up of those little tiny.
I also like to make a comment how this one is a softer touch as opposed to the real sharp
Dramatic.
edges.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen what Diana has done lately. She's starting to do a hydrangea I'm hoping she'll share with this group. It's just gorgeous, but
Good.
I know you're a fan of hers.
Yeah,
Actually, that looks like maybe like a watercolor, or is that oil?
yeah.
It's, oh, well, it's so light in places that you.
When you paint with oil, you can take your big brush, like the background, and you just keep blending and blending. You can soften it down. It's like watercolor, just the coloration.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, but you don't have to use a heavy hand with it. Oils can be blended down, and that's when you use a medium. I was telling my sister I couldn't figure out why my petals weren't coming out yesterday when I was practicing. In the middle of the night, I woke up and dawned on me I was using the wrong product. I was using clear liquid. Now, clear liquid is what you, let's say I wanted to add to this painting. It's perfectly dry. Clear liquid, I would put it on and it softens, it works with the oil paint that's underneath. Then you can add on to it, do another layer. Like traditional oils are done, you look at the Mona Lisa, you look at Van Gogh's Starry Night. Those took them a long time to paint.
Oh, I love Van Gogh.
And
He was the greatest work of art. He was the greatest artist of all time. But the Mona Lisa is probably one of the greatest works of art in Western culture.
It's beautiful.
Oh yeah,
It sure
and
is.
that probably sells for like
It wouldn't have a price tag.
yeah, probably. It would
It
never
would
be
not
over
have a
like
price tag.
8
You
million.
couldn't afford it.
Yeah, it covers up like millions.
Now, see the leaves here? They're a little different. You can make leaves in almost any shape that you want.
Yeah. Happy mistakes.
Okay, now, really look at this painting. You think it's pretty? Yep. Flat. Look at those flowers. They are so flat. This is the first painting I did for Christmas. And I thought I did a good job.
You did.
I did, yeah.
Did you
I'm-
get a ribbon?
Not with this one. But let me show you the difference. Let's get a couple of these out of the way. My trillium that I painted is absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you know that with Bob Ross, there was a lady called Kowalski, Annette Kowalski. And when he first started, when you'd see him in his first TV programs where he'd splatter the brush and try to get it dry and stuff, guess who was down on the floor taking all that in her face? Because she'd be moving this for him and moving that for him. And that got splattered. I took a couple of classes from Annette Kowalski in Washington, D.C. at a Bob Ross conference. And I have to brag a little. We were to bring a painting for the auction. My painting is hanging in London in a gentleman who came from London over here for the convention, and it went up for auction and he bought it, and from what I hear, it's hanging in his office in London. And I have some paintings hanging in Texas, Canada, quite a few in Canada because I have so much family that want to have them. But that one just blew me away that it was in London. I was like, wow. And he has an art shop. Yeah?
Oh, on that painting there, at the bottom of the vase, I want to know, should I have been shadowed a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit lighter? Because you can't even tell that it's sitting
Yeah.
on the table.
No, you can't. There's a
So-
lot wrong with this painting.
Oh, but I don't think it's beautiful otherwise. I think it's lovely. I can't do it like that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have noticed.
Oh.
Hold them side by side, so I can see the difference. Oh, yeah.
Do you see the difference?
Yes. It's the frame.
Yeah, it's framed. But this one has been hung in our house for many, many years at Christmas time. This and my big Santa Claus. My trillium, or not trillium, come on, what's the Christmas flower?
Poinsettia.
No, this is a poinsettia.
Yeah.
The other one that grows real fast.
Amaryllis.
The amaryllis that I painted under Annette Kowalski in Washington DC is now hanging in my daughter's home in Montana. But yes, there was a lot of mistakes in this one. So this is what you learn from your flat flowers to flowers that move. The illusion of the movement. Oh, hold them up, hold them up.
Point it this way.
But you always have to look at your mistakes to learn. And you always have to practice.
The thing I see most in this one is the lights and darks.
Yes,
There's much more variation between the lights and darks than there is on there.
that's right. And the petals have more of a ruffle on them. Look on that white one. In comparison to the flat over here. Yeah, Jerry?
Maybe sometimes if you're trying to improve, paint another painting instead of over that one,
Oh, absolutely.
do a new one.
Yes. And I do that a lot.
First one's always better.
Yeah, your first one's always better. When you come to flowers, you'll find out it's not the first one, it's the best. But this one has been hung in our home for a lot of years. So can I answer any questions on the flowers you've seen?
Pam,
Yeah,
the hydrangeas, you said something about softening them with clear liquid. What kind of clear liquid?
what
is
I
that?
was talking about, where is my bag? A lot of brands have the clear liquid, just happens, I had Bob Ross hanging around the house. But it's a liquid, it's clear, it's running. You put it on your painting so you can do the next layer.
I've seen that before, but I thought you had to put it on your canvas first to make it wet.
This you do, you have,
Because I've seen how he does it on his canvas. He puts it on his canvas and he makes it wet.
he also uses liquid white.
Yeah, that's one. No, not that one, but the other white. He puts it on his canvas
Yeah.
and he makes it wet.
This is what he uses, and it comes in a can just like this. And it's liquid white, which puts a moisture over your canvas so your paint moves, whether it's acrylics
Oh, I know.
or oils, you need them to move. That's why I don't do a lot of acrylics, they stay where they're at. But my animals now are all done in layers, so this gets used a lot because it prepares your canvas for the next layer to go on top. It's like my animals are first done in acrylic. Acrylic gives you more depth in the face on an animal or the eyes, and then you do it in oil.
Pam, is that similar to, I've used some of his products long time ago. Is that similar to a medium then?
The
This-
medium,
in the
there is,
can?
he does have a medium.
Yeah, he does. I know, I've used it before, but what's the primary ingredient in the can? Do you know?
She can't read that fine print.
Just curious.
My glasses are on my head. But the medium is what she's asking about. Helps your brush move smoother with the paints, helps the paints blend better. It's easier to do your petals, and that's what I was doing in the middle of the night. I woke up, went,
Pam, do you apply it like you dip into it and add your, okay, it's not like you cover your canvas.
Not in medium, no.
Okay.
Medium is for the brush itself and for spreading your paint and making it as you load your brush. Yeah,
But isn't that kind of what you're doing by putting on the clear?
well, the
Yeah.
clear is preparing the canvas itself. It's, it works with the gesso you have behind or the layers of dry paint you have behind it. It's like I gessoed, which one was it? Yesterday, I put some clear on this flower. I thought it was dry.
Oh, my God.
It's not.
Oh, my
Okay.
God.
So this was a very dry flower before. And I added some clear on it because I wanted to play with it. Well,
It wasn't dry.
it wasn't, then it made the oil work better. It penetrated. So I thought that was dry. And as you can tell where all my paint goes.
The leaves look so authentic, the green leaves.
How much time do I have?
You have another
15
45 minutes, so go for it.
Go for it. Now we can play with leaves.
You don't even
Uh,
critique.
Leaves, like I said, are something you really have to work, learn the technique. And in a few minutes, I'll ask for a volunteer to come up and try it. When you paint flowers, you do not want hard bristle brushes, not like you would use in a landscape. They will not absorb the paint well, they will not be smooth. You want brushes that are soft. And they're usually sable or, I can't think of what other, but you'll find them in the store, you'll find them all in an area where it'll show you soft bristles and your hard bristles for your, this is a hard bristle. This is what I put my color on my canvas. When I want to put a background, like there's green there, purple there. And this window behind it was an experiment. You can put paint, you can put a tape on there, do your painting right over the tape, pull the tape off, and you've got beautiful lines. And with an oil painting, you can also make it look like it has a matting. I do it a lot with landscapes. I run a tape, painter's tape. I will run it all straight across, make a square, make sure it's really on there tight. Then I paint my painting, then I pull off the tape, and you have a matting. It's an illusion. Then when you frame it, it looks like it has a white or what other color you put on there. Matte to go with your painting. And you can do that with acrylic, you can do that with anything. But with oil, it's a lot easier. Because you're not gonna put an oil canvas behind glass. Can anybody explain to me why you don't put them behind glass?
It needs to breathe. Your canvas needs to breathe.
Yep.
Yeah, cracking to breathing, yes.
The masters that you go to a museum to see that are done in oils, if you could look behind them, if they have a paper on them, and a lot of oil artists have that put on, and that's called a dust sheet, just so it doesn't get dust on the back. But you will find holes in it. They will cut holes in that backing, so it can breathe. If the old masters that you see hanging on the wall, or anybody who's done a real good oil painting, when you look at the painting, if it was behind glass, it would melt through. It couldn't breathe. The paint will come off. So when you do, a lot of my paintings do not have a spray on them.
Varnish.
Yep. You can get that any craft store. What is the one, somebody here? Carl, what do you use?
I use acrylic spray.
Yeah. Other people will brush it on, depending on your preference.
Unless you have to use acrylics for acrylics, because when I create with acrylics, I leave them in a nice warm area. They don't stretch on me. I have a great
Yeah.
experience with those things, and I can actually leave them in the sun for a little bit, and they won't stretch on me. So,
One of,
so
a
I
friend
think
of
that's
mine
great,
who
so.
teaches Bob Ross, I think she still teaches, some of you've taken her class. One time, we were driving away and we forgot a painting on the roof of the van. And it fell on the ground. And it rained. Let me tell you, it was the prettiest picture. When we went back and picked it up, it had all these little speckles all over it. You couldn't do that again if you tried, but it really gave that landscape some real emotion. So, you know, you're always spraying on an acrylic or doing that with watercolor. You can do it with oil if you're very, very careful. Or wait till it's all dry and then spray them.
I like acrylics, pretty cool.
Well, on the leaves, a basic color that works very well is your ultramarine blue and your sap green. You put the two together, and you can come up with a beautiful green to do your dark leaves. Now again, you were asking about the difference between medium. I run around with little cups. After you eat your Jell-O, whatever, you hang on to them. My husband kept finding this stack growing. He couldn't know what the heck I was doing with it.
Now, are you working with oils today or acrylics?
Oil.
Can you put acrylics behind glass?
Yeah, you can put acrylics behind because they breathe on their own. The oil plugs up all the holes in your canvas. And so it doesn't breathe. And that's why you don't put it under glass. Now, when you watch, and it's like I was taught, it's not that you're supposed to be watching the canvas. You're supposed to be watching your palette, to how you load your brush. This is kind of sticky right now. It's pretty smooth. There's your chiseled edge. You see a little point at the top? That's where you can get your fine lines and things from. But you add a touch of medium to this, and it really moves. And it's smooth. And it's much easier to put on a canvas, to work with. That's the difference between a medium and your clear liquid. And that's why I was so frustrated yesterday, is because I was using clear liquid. And in the middle of the night, I thought of it. I got it this morning and made sure I had the medium. Different kinds of petals. Your basic petal or your basic leaf starts wide and works its way down to the point. And it's really not that hard. I know I've had instructors give me all kinds of funny ways to do a leaf. But I find it much easier if you just start with a line, that's the direction you want it to go. You come up next to the side and you turn your first stroke at an angle. And your one on this side is an angle. Well, dear.
Is there a dog here?
Yeah. We have something here we didn't know about. It's like my little dog this morning, Kathleen, walked in the house and boy, I was outside and I could hear Missy just going crazy when Kathleen walked in. She spoiled rotten. Like every other pet, right? When you start a basic leaf, you start with the outside on one on each side of your line. And then from then on, it's basically push up. I gotta stand in front of it. You just push. You bend your brush. All you do is you push straight up. Get into that position, and you just stand to. See me? I come back down here and just push it up. Straight up. And then straight up. Now this is where somebody was talking about liquid white or medium to prep your canvas.
Yeah.
You can use the liquid clear or the liquid white
Okay.
as a base for.
I love Bob Ross. He's a great guy. That's where I learned some of the color stuff from him. I love learning from him. I watch him like every day. He's an amazing guy. That's where
Does
What
the
if-
liquid white change the color when you're painting on it?
You know, it may a little, but not. I'll show you. A little. You know, they make these childproof for a reason. Us grown-ups can't do it. Come on. Liquid white is a little bit thicker. And that is more, I believe, if I remember right, it's acrylic. It's a lot like gesso. Gesso is acrylic. And you prep your canvas. So I'm gonna take this.
I know
But we can do all kinds of leaves.
that. Because I think that stays wet for like while you paint.
Yeah, it does for a while, but it'll dry much faster because of the acrylic base. But it'll also help things move better.
Yeah, it stays dry for. Yeah. Good, I've seen that on Bob Ross.
Now, to show you how much easier. Well, helps if I get enough out here. With oil paints, you plop a bunch of them on your palette and they'll stay there for quite a while. They're not gonna dry up like your acrylic. They'll be there. And you can just put a lid on and put that in the refrigerator, which will help maintain your oils.
They put the acrylics in the freezer.
Yeah, you can do that. I haven't tried freezing my oil, but. This color will show you a little bit clearer. There. Now again, it depends on what you're painting. This is another thing you do with oil. You can wipe it out and make it go away and do it again. My poor neighbor, she was trying so hard, she wanted to paint a particular flower for her dining room. She was so frustrated. She's a perfectionist. She used to be a school principal. Now she teaches college. But yeah, everything done right. So I walked up with a rag and wiped her whole flower out. And the poor girl was standing there with her mouth hanging open. What did you do? I said, well, start it again. That's a plus to oils. You can always do it again. Now, with this type of a leaf, we could be down here pretending we're on a stem. It's hard doing this from the side. And what you can do is make your line move. If you need it to be a side to a plant, hiding under it, where you're putting like three together, like this, whatever we called it, dahlia. And you can highlight them. You can add a little teal, you can add it for fall, you can add a little yellow and orange. You can go back and do that right over this again. Let's see what we can play with here. I don't have the right colors out here, but let's see what happens. Looks like it's going to be a fall leaf. See how easy it is to change it? And you can make a fall leaf instead of just a green one. Some leaves, you look at your plant and the flower that you're going to paint. For an example, I had those, oh, here they are. Moved around. The hydrangea leaf. You can see all the lines in the formation of the leaf. So you can do that on here as well. Take a, come on, put a drop in it. Did I bring one? Yes, I did. A little script brush. You could just take it. Now, if you had the right color, I didn't. You could draw in it into your leaf with the right color. And then you go up. But you can play with it. You can make all these veins. Like this is a dark leaf. The veins are all in a very light green. So you just mix up another little pile of color and just draw in with a script brush or something pointed that you might use for in watercolor, a round brush. You could do that very easily. Now, who wants to come up and play? I knew you would.
Water-based oils, or is that, or mineral spirits?
This is odorless.
The mineral spirits?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No. That's why it's not filling the room with a lot of odor. Okay. Now take the bright color and start with that. Clean up my mess. And the best, if you use paper towels to paint, I don't care what you're painting, the best, and talk to Shirley, she'll tell you the same thing, Viva. It's more like a cloth. That's the best paper towel and it's good for your brushes. Right, Shirley?
Yes.
Pile of white.
Oil mechanic, blue, paper towel is also.
Now, let's start with the center of this flower, just because we will pick this color. And I'll mix some white. Alizarin crimson and white always makes a pretty pink. Sometimes way too dark, and you have to get more white to soften it down a little bit. You can see my brush, my strokes here were very hard to get through the combination of the two colors, but I used a medium, and look how much smoother it is. And you load your brush in long strokes to get that chiseled edge. Now we're just going to go like this. Somebody's missing messages.
What kind of a flower are you making?
Actually, it's just a basic, what they call a posy, or it's kind of like a poppy. A poppy has less leaves. These right here that I was showing you earlier, this is something like I'm going to paint right now. You start by just making a big circle. Then we're going to get into making the center. And I'm going to use alizarin crimson. It's a darker color to this.
What's your favorite color to paint your flowers?
This.
I was just noticing those yellow ones down there, they're gorgeous.
I usually will do a yellow or peach or something if it's requested. My cousin was dying of cancer, and one of her last requests of me was to please paint her pastel, more of a peach colored tulips. And so I painted her a bouquet of peach colored tulips before she died. You make this dark area in the center so you know where you're going. And you bring it up. Now this little shape down here, and they're always called a teacup. There's your bottom of it, there's your softener, and there's your teacup. I guess. I never could see it. Now looking for your vanishing spot, where your focal point is. And into each petal, this is a separate petal and this is a separate petal. Just stop back, it's so heavy. You start by drawing, it looks like a heart. I think that I was going to bring a picture so you guys could pass it around. And it looks like I may not have. Darn. To how the flower starts in sections. This is where your center of this petal is there, the center of this petal is here. Draw a line there. That's the direction your petals are going to go. Where did my knife go? Okay, there it is. The painting knife is your best friend. I don't know how many of you use them, but you can paint with them as well as mix your paint with them.
Pam, you would have put your greens in, right, before this flower, like,
I'm just gonna show them how to do the flower.
I know, but if you were doing this.
If I were doing this as a painting,
Yeah,
a grouping,
yeah.
I would have a flower here, here, and I'd put them in different arrangements in different colors. And I would put my green leaves in as I go, yeah.
You have it on the bottom there, right in that painting. Right.
Yeah, right there. Thank you. Somebody's watching me. When you do this, you try to get a long stroke. Now, do you see where I'm bringing it? From up here, bringing one long stroke down to the center. Actually, a little bit higher. And then you want to get to some dry white. If I stood here and did the whole flower, we'd be waiting quite a while. So what I'll do is maybe add a couple to these petals to these other ones, but giving you the basic. This is where you start. You start with your blob of color. Then you take your white or your lighter pink and run it from here. And this is the center of this petal is right down here. And see how much smoother my brush is moving the paint? An example, somebody's throwing things away. All right, if I held that up, can you see where it's going?
Yeah.
You start with the big petals, and then you add, then you bring this little, you make a petal here, and bring it over in front and over in front. It's like another heart almost, from here to here, here to here. And then with the brush on that, you bring this petal in. Brush is getting involved in other colors. That's how you get this one. And I've lost, as you can tell, I've lost my dark spot. Because as you get a dark spot in there in the center, see how I've got alizarin crimson in here, which is a dark red, burgundy red? That's inside the center. That's what would be right there. There. Then everything else goes around it. And with oils, not that you can't do with your, those of you who paint with acrylics know far more about it than I do. That I guess you can add a medium, you can do things to smooth it out so it will move a little bit.
There's all kinds of extenders.
Yeah.
guys, to extend the painting time for acrylic.
Pam,
Yeah?
I think we need to finish up here so we can get our
Okay.
chairs around.
But do you kind of get the idea of what I'm saying? So you make 1, 2, 3, 4, and with a poppy, you only add one more down here. With a flower, you can make more petals out of it. But you don't want to get so tied up with your petals that you have too many. And you start with your dry, you end with dry white, just plain old white paint. Don't add any medium because there's enough stuff already on your flower. Enough medium oils to move everything. So you take your perfectly dry white and you make your you go back, too much on this.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah, thank you.